Hey, howdy people, welcome to my second channel. I just saw Fantastic Four First Steps today, and I gotta say, it was fantastic. It was a pretty darn good movie. As always, well, I mean, not always, because the only other movie that I've reviewed while it's in theaters was the new Mission Impossible. But just like that video, I'm going to talk about some general stuff, my overall thoughts, and then I'm going to get into more spoilers later. So let's just kind of talk about overall. Overall, I think this is one of the best Marvel movies since Endgame. I think Marvel's been kind of hit or miss with their stuff since Endgame. There's been some good stuff. There's been some absolute pee-pee-poo-poo stinkers since then. But this is one of the hits. This is one of the hits and has me really excited, actually, for Doomsday and where that's going to go and like where they're going to take these characters and what they're going to do with these characters. This in combination with Thunderbolts and like how that ended. I'm very interested with what's going to happen in Doomsday because it sets up some interesting things. Obviously not going to spoil that now, but it's cool. It's cool. I also think from the trailer, like compared to the trailer, there was actually some better fixed, I guess, CGI in it. Like, I think Reed Richards' CGI overall was a little bit weird. Some of it was kind of strange. And I think it was better than it was in the trailer. I mean, we only saw like a little bit of it in that one trailer, I think. I think that's the only bit we saw. He's like stretching among the rubble or whatever. And it felt better in the movie. I saw it in IMAX too, which was really cool, seeing it on the big screen. It felt better. There was also some little things with the Silver Surfer. I don't know if other people saw this or if it was just me noticing some things in the shot, but in the trailer, the Silver Surfer looked weird. It looked like too CGI, and she looked like very, not as metallic, but more googly, if that makes sense. And in the movie, she looks way more metallic. Like when it shows close-up shots of her, it looks like metal, and it looks really, really good. It's like malleable metal, and it's a really interesting effect because when we got stuff with like the Silver Surfer, like Rise of the Silver Surfer back in 05, 07, when did that drop? I don't know. I saw that movie once, but when the Silver Surfer was in that movie, the dude Silver Surfer, whose name I forgot, not Shalabal Silver Surfer, it felt more liquidy, and this feels a lot more metal. So like stuff like that was pretty good too. There were some other weird, janky CGI things, but ultimately I'm just bringing this up just to kind of have it as like a point because people talk about it. The CGI wasn't terrible. I don't get bent out of shape from bad or weird CGI. It doesn't really bother me unless it's egregious, and it was not egregious in this movie. It's a Marvel movie with Marvel CGI. So, yeah. I think overall, the story was kind of predictable. Actually, if you go into the movie expecting things, you are going to get those things. However, it is the relationship between the characters, their relationships, the dynamic of the four as a family, and like their overall goal in this movie. It's all that really makes it shine. If we're just looking story-wise, it's Fantastic Four trying to stop Galactus. Like, that's it. And that goes where you think. It is what it is. So purely just the story, just on paper, if you looked up a synopsis, spoilers and all of what happens in the story, it's pretty basic. But the relationships between the characters, again, are what make it great. There's several scenes in this movie where I teared up. And I was like, man, like, I really feel for these characters, and I just met them in this movie. And the way that they do an introduction to them, and they kind of lead us into, okay, here's the Fantastic Four after they've been the Fantastic Four for a few years, and they're kind of used to things. The way that they do that little, like, catching you up reel in the beginning is really, really good, too. And that into the way the story plays out, and the way that they try to stop Galactus. Not going to go into details again until later, but all of that is really well done, mainly because of how good the characters are. And the actors are all great. Is there Marvel humor? Yeah. There's some Marvel humor, and not all of it lands. there's this one running joke that Johnny Storm has that I'll talk about later, I guess, a little bit. But there's this one running joke that he has kind of throughout the movie, and it's kind of dumb. And I kind of rolled my eyes, and it's like, really, like, you're bringing this up now. But overall, like, him and Ben, his back and forth banter with Ben was actually pretty entertaining and actually funny at sometimes. There were some lines I kind of smiled at. I wasn't outright laughing, but there were some kind of lines that was like, all right, okay, that's funny. And it's mainly because of the way that they play the characters, and they lean into the family dynamic. And it's like, man, these are just two buds just joking around, basically. And it feels very authentic and real with a lot of the character relationships. Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal have really good chemistry together. You really feel for them and their whole situation and everything that's going on with that. It's really, really well done. Just in general, like, I have nothing but high praise for all of the actors. Shia LaBeouf's Silver Surfer as well. Like, she did a really good job, and that her character is really interesting, and there's more to her than meets the eye. Especially in the later parts of the movie. Now, there are some story beats with her that are pretty predictable and all that stuff, but I'll get into that later. But again, it's the relationships between the characters that shine the most. Galactus is scary and threatening and menacing, and they really showcase his power very well. And it's done in a way that really makes you kind of fear for the lives of the Fantastic Four and like the citizens of Earth. And you're like, how are they gonna stop him? I mean, he is the devourer of planets. How are they going to stop him from devouring Earth? I mean, what in the world can they do against a guy who shows up and just completely obliterates entire planets? Like, what in the world can they do? And then you're left kind of figuring out what they're going to do, and there's a bit of mystery around that. And then it's pretty obvious. It leads to some obvious conclusions, but overall, like, you really feel for the stress that they've got. So it's very interesting. Another thing is the soundtrack. Michael Giacchino, whoever that is. One of the best, most underrated composers, I think. He does the soundtrack. It's really, really good. The overall vibe of the movie, with the sort of retro futurism, like 50s, 60s feel of like, hey, this is what the future would be. That whole vibe is amazing, and the music contributes to that the entire time. It's a great soundtrack. And overall, just the whole atmosphere of the movie is so cool. And I've always really loved that retrofuturism aesthetic, and this movie does a great job with all of that. So very, very good. High praise in that department. I just think all around a really solid Marvel movie. It stands on its own. You don't have to have seen the other Marvel movies. And it's just a really good movie. Even if you brought someone who knows nothing about any superheroes at all to come see this movie, they would enjoy it. And it feels like a phase 1 or phase 2 Marvel movie, when they were just introducing characters and kind of setting up little plot threads, but not really the bigger movies where it's like, if you go into like Doctor Strange 2, for example, you watch Multiverse of Madness without having seen like WandaVision, you're going to be kind of lost, or things like that. It doesn't have any plot threads from previous things that you need to know, but it does set up some fun stuff for later. There's a post-credit scene that kind of hints at some things to come in the future and things like that. So it is part of the universe, but obviously it takes place on a different Earth that's not Earth. What is it? 626? Is that the one that? Let me look this up, because what Earth is the MCU? 616. 626 is Stitch. I get the two mixed up all the time. 616. Yeah, this takes place on Earth 828, so it's a different universe, and there's implications for that, for like the future of the Marvel universe and all that kind of stuff. But the multiverse is a thing now, and it's heavily in swing, so shouldn't be that hard to just open a portal and pull them into 616 if they wanted to. We'll see. All right, so overall, very, very, very good movie. I give it like a 9 out of 10. and I'm only bumping it down from a 10 out of 10 because it's more so fun, and I'm bumping it down for the predictable story a little bit, and some of the humor doesn't land, but overall, like, 9 out of 10, still a very, very solid movie. One of the better Marvel movies in the past 5 years. Or 6 years. I guess what has it been 6 years since Endgame? 6 years or 5 years? I don't know. It's been a long time for some reason. It does not feel that long. Anyway, those are my overall thoughts, and now we're going to get into some spoilers. So big ol' spoiler tag right here. I'm going to talk about some spoilers. The main thing that I wanted to talk about with the spoilers is the way that Shia LaBeouf's Silver Surfer kind of mirrors Vanessa Kirby's Sue Storm. I forget who the actress is who plays Shia LaBeouf, but like the way that like Sue Storm throughout this movie, she's built up as okay, the movie starts, they're having a baby. Obviously, I think that was in the trailers, I'm pretty sure, so that's not a spoiler, but the way that like Galactus wants this kid, and he's like, yo, I will take the kid and I will spare Earth. And Sue's like, I can't do this. I'm not giving up my child to spare Earth. So then they go on this big scheme to try to teleport Earth out of the way, and then that doesn't work. So then they have to teleport Galactus out of the way and lure him down to Earth and like use the baby as bait and all that fun stuff. So, you know, all that happens. That's all pretty predictable. That's kind of what I was saying earlier. Like, you know, Galactus shows up. I mean, you see it in the trailer. He's walking. I wish they didn't show that, but whatever. You see him in the trailer. He's walking, and you see his feet in the trailer, and then he does some destruction. He like picks up some ground and sniffs it, and then he starts just breaking some buildings and traipsing through Times Square and breaking some stuff. And like that whole plot line of we got to stop Galactus is pretty predictable, but I really like what they did with the Silver Surfer. And some people were questioning, like, why not use the other Silver Surfer, who's the more recognizable guy, I guess. But I think it was a good call using Shia LaBeouf because they were able to take her role as a mother of a child whose planet was marked for extinction by Galactus, and she was able to kind of be his probe droid, basically, and then he spared her planet. And putting those same sorts of like parallels with the way that Sue Storm is, where she has this choice, this sacrifice that she has to give up to save her planet, and she really doesn't want to do it. Shia LaBeouf did it, and she regrets it. And then now Sue Storm has this choice, this impossible choice to give her child to Galactus, and it really tugs at the heartstrings of Shia LaBeouf and you as the viewer, and you get this really nice parallel between them. And the great scene where Johnny kind of confronts her, and he's like, hey, these are the cries for help of all of these planets that had your people on them or something, maybe not her specific planet, but other planets, and they all died because of you. It's like, why do you, like, can't you help us spare this planet as well? And then that leads into her ultimately, I guess, I don't know if you could say sacrificing herself or like pushing Johnny out of the way to, you know, get Galactus through the portal after he tries to claw his way back out, and like push him in, so presumably she goes in the portal with him, and then I don't know, they just chill at the end of the universe together, who knows. So they could come back, we'll see, I don't know, but they're out of the way, they're not dead, so both of those people could come back. You could have more Shia LaBeouf Silver Surfer, you could have more Galactus. It kind of leaves the door open for that in an interesting way, and maybe, I don't know, maybe they teleport Galactus to Earth 616. Who knows? That could be something interesting. Just a thought. But I don't know how they would feed that into Avengers Doomsday. But anyway, I really like the stuff with Shia LaBeouf. The part that I was talking about earlier about the running joke that I didn't like was like Johnny Storm's thing with like, is the surfboard connected to her body? Is it part of her body? And then he's like, you know, the surfboard flies away, and he's like, on the verge of death as they're running away. And he's like, guys, the surfboard's not connected to her body. And then later he's like, I feel like we aren't talking enough about how the surfboard's not connected to her body. It's like, we heard you the first time. Like, you should have said it once and then moved on, and then not even like had even the second gag where you're like, oh, it's not connected to, like, it would have been kind of like a funny throwaway joke, and it turned into like a little bit of an annoying part. But ultimately, like, I'm nitpicking, and I didn't really care all that much. Another thing that I thought was great was the way that they took time to, and I should have talked about this earlier in the non-spoilery parts, but they took time to let the emotional moments breathe without throwing random Marvel jokes in there. Especially like in the beginning when Sue finds out that she's pregnant, and they have, like, her and Reed just have a moment together, and it gives them some time to be like, oh man, they're so excited. And then like when Sue turns her belly invisible, and like you see the baby in there, and you're like, oh, like it's such a cute moment. And the way that they have such a wonderful little family dynamic, and the baby kind of brings them all together is such a beautiful thing. And I really love, I loved Sue's speech to the people outside of the tower when they're all mad and they're like, why won't you give up your baby? I especially love her line where she says, like, I will not sacrifice my baby for this world, but I will also not sacrifice this world for my baby. And I think like that was a very powerful line, which I think made people finally understand that's like, oh, okay, so we can save them all. Like, we don't have to give up the baby in order to like have a better life. And so it's a really great little story beat there that I thought was really, really well done. And obviously, but one other gripe that I have is that the mole people felt weird. Subterranea, it felt kind of weird and shoved in, and just as something they needed to get the people to evacuate New York City really quickly in a realistic way. But whatever, like, I don't care. Ultimately, I don't care. Also, some of the baby Franklin's CGI was a little bit weird. Like, when he was being held by Sue Storm or something, it looked normal. And I'm sure, I assume it was an actual baby, I don't know. But then there were other parts where, like, Ben was holding her, and I mean, he's CGI, so it was a little bit awkward. And then he's like walking and the baby's bouncing in a weird CGI way. Not as bad as like Renesmee from Twilight or something, but still pretty rough at times. That was, I think, the worst of the CGI. Overall, the CGI wasn't too bad though. But yeah, I'm super impressed with like pretty much everything that they did in this movie. And I don't know how much I believe that Johnny was able to quickly translate and figure out and speak the Silver Surfer's language fluently. I don't know how realistic that is, but whatever. Maybe he's just a super genius with linguistics and I haven't read the comics, or who knows. But whatever. You know, it was a very enjoyable movie. And one of the best Marvel movies to come out of the past 5 years, I think. So, it was good. It was a good movie. Banger. Oh, I also liked, one more thing before I go away. I also really liked Sue Storm's death. I liked that they allowed her to die because it gave like a sense of gravity to this. Because too many times in movies, you have things where like a person exerts a lot of their energy and then they pass out. They're like, no, don't die. And then I'm fine. It's like, no, she actually died and she needed the baby, Franklin, to do something and save her life, which begs the question, what are Franklin's powers? I haven't read the comics. I don't know if he's in the comics and he has like a power set that's explained or whatever, but did he not just bring his mother back to life? He can resurrect the dead. The implications to that are a little frightening. And they better not share this knowledge, or he's going to become a problem. And it makes me question, what exactly are they going to do? What are they planning with Franklin in the future of the MCU? Because he seems like a very powerful being if he's able to resurrect people from the dead. Which, I mean, that's what Galactus was saying. Galactus is saying that he was going to be the next one to be the next Galactus, basically. And that's why he wanted him. But I don't know what the implications of that are. And then the end credit scene with Doctor Doom talking to him. I wonder if that is because Doctor Doom knows about the extent of his powers as well, and how powerful this kid is going to be. So he kind of wants to influence him. And I wonder if that's going to kind of be a part of Doomsday, like a big plot point where Franklin, because it did say, like the Fantastic Four are going to return in Avengers Doomsday. I wonder if that's going to be a plot point in Doomsday where Franklin has this insane potential as a cosmic being of nigh unlimited power, and Doctor Doom wants to recruit him, and the Fantastic Four and the Avengers maybe have to team up to stop him, and what all that is gonna apply as well. So I don't know. There's some implications there, and there are some plot threads that they could continue down. So it would be fun to see, if they take that anywhere. But we'll see. We'll see. Ultimately, I'd kind of lost my faith in Marvel a little bit, and Thunderbolts brought it back a little bit, just slightly, where I was like, okay, this was a good movie. I think it could be a good sign for Marvel. And then this movie made me even more excited. And now I think Doomsday, with this and the recent track record going into the next few years of releases they've got scheduled up, I think it's going to be a good one. I think their little dip in quality when they kind of dabbled into TV shows and they created Disney Plus and all that, I think they realized that was a mistake, and they're finally on a correction course, and I think it's going pretty okay now. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens. I'm intrigued. All right. Let me know what you thought of the movie. Did you see it? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Overall, are you excited for Doomsday? All that stuff. Let me know, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.